Hello, I'm Chris Chesley from vKernel. It's going to be my pleasure to get you started with our Capacity Analyzer appliance. So you have it installed and configured. Now what do you do with it? Well, you're looking at a web browser here, and I have the URL for our virtual appliance up. On the left-hand side over here, I have two different areas. I have a virtual environment, which is read in directly from Virtual Center, and that will help you navigate to a particular host, cluster, resource pool, whatever level you want to look at in your environment. In this case, I'm looking at my entire data center. The other portion is a custom group, so I can right-click on this, create a custom group from a folder, resource pool, cluster, or drag and drop items up into it. So if I wanted to look at a subset of servers, let's say all of my database servers, my front-end servers, whatever it is, I can group those together, even differently than I have them logically segmented in Virtual Center, and get a view of just those machines. So over on the right-hand side, I have all of the details about, in this case, my data center. So the overview pane shows me my top 5 current problems, my top 5 future problems, how much availability I have, the top 5 there, and then which virtual machine is using the most memory, the most CPU, all the rest of that in my environment. I then have the ability to go and drill down to specific areas. So if I click on current bottlenecks, I can start looking at where are my problems right now. This is going to be a sorted list, so the finance machine here is the biggest problem in my environment. So it has an issue with CPU. I can mouse over that and get all the detailed statistics there. I can also go over to memory, and that's really where the problem is. So anything that's over 100% utilization for memory means I have a limit set, and that virtual machine is not happy at that limit, essentially. But again, I have a very good detailed list of all the specifics. I can then drill down even further. I can click on memory here, or double click on the red over there, and then get all the information, swapping, ballooning, peaking, all the rest of that. I can double click on any of these individual items. It would then take me to a summary of the issue, all the relevant statistics, and in a lot of cases go and recommend a resolution to how am I going to fix that particular problem. Okay? So I can get statistics about CPU, CPU ready, peak utilization. The I/O wait is a measurement of disk I/O, but we're using a CPU metric to get that. It's called CPU extra, so that's why that's in here. We already showed you the memory one, so for storage, I can go and get the utilization of each individual partition. So this VM right here is only using 32% of the storage I've allocated to it, but right now, root is 99% full, MountDB is 4%, etc. We do the same thing for Windows. I could go to disk I/O and get my disk I/O information, latency, queue latency here as well. We'll turn that off. I could scroll down. I could get individual throughput, swapping, all the rest of that. And then just really good information. The future bottleneck tab is where I can go and look at, based on past activity, when are my problems going to be happening in the future. So if we take this virtual machine right here, this tells me that in 8 days I'm going to hit the alert level, which is 70% by default, for memory utilization. That, as administrator, gives me 8 days to go and fix that, add more capacity, set limits, move systems around, whatever I need to do. Data store statistics are here to show you just a good overview of all your data stores, capacity, free space, LUN ID, all the rest of that. I can then go and look at top consumers. So this shows me a top 5, top 25 view of who's using the most CPU, memory, disk I/O, network, whatever it is in your environment. So we'll just wait for that to populate here. So I have here my CA.71 is using the most memory. vKernel SBS is using that. So if I have a problem, I can find out which virtual machines are using those particular resources. And then finally, the capacity availability map. This tells me, based on what's currently running, how many more of a particular size virtual machine can I add. So if we take my cluster here, I'm running 14 VMs. The average virtual machine is 800 megabytes of memory, almost 400 megabytes or megahertz, of CPU. Based on that, memory is my limiting factor, and I can fit 16 more of those onto that particular cluster. So we break it down by host, cluster, resource pool there. Any of these levels right here, any of the reports I just shown you, I can click on Scheduled Report here. It would then email this information out on a daily basis to whoever may need it. I can also go to any level on the left-hand side and add an alert, so I can go in and say, all right, whenever CPU utilization increases by 30% during a day, I need to know that information. So that's the default warning up here, and we send an alert out for that. I can also set an alert for future conditions. So if, for example, whenever memory utilization reaches, let's do this here, 65%, that's my cue that I need to buy more hardware, and I want to know 14 days in advance. We'll send that out through email or SNMP. So I hope you find that helpful. If you need a little more help, we can certainly help you, either of our sales reps or the engineers at support@vkernel.com. Thank you very much.